Hello everybody and welcome back to Book Time. As you can see, I have gotten ready for fall and I'm so excited. Fall is such a great time. It is just the best time of the year. In addition to Christmas, I love summer and I am a summer girly, but I have been ready for fall. So let's go. I'm gonna give you all of my August wrap-up books. I didn't read that many, honestly. It's like 7, but they were all very highly rated. So let's get started. Coming in at number 1, I have some of these books in physical form, but some of them I have already went ahead and given to a friend to borrow. But I do have Wiz Kit that I got from the library, and this is by Tanya J Scott. This is actually part of my week of reading middle grade. It's a vlog that I'm doing really soon. And I absolutely loved this book. I am going to save my overall rating for that vlog because I don't want to spoil the rating yet. But I will say that this one was very high up there, and I really loved this story. It follows a girl named Wiz Kit, and I think it's a girl, it's a cat. She has a dress, so like a dress coat. But she goes on a journey, and she's kind of a lazy cat. She always wants to hang around her house and not do much of anything. And so her guardian is like, get out there and explore. And I want you to take this book back to the library. Well, the book, the library book, comes to life and begins to be kind of a friend that takes her on this epic journey towards getting the book back to the library. And the overarching message is that you go on a journey every time you pick up a book. And then the book says, you don't have to have this adventure end whenever she's giving it back to the library. He says, you can come and check me out whenever you want and have this epic adventure again. And we can make new adventures. And so basically, the book is telling her that every time she checks out a book from the library, a new adventure will unfold in her life. The message behind this book about being proactive in reading and being proactive in life and learning lessons and learning how to be a people person when you aren't quite a people person. Wiz Kit is not a people cat. No pun intended, like she doesn't like people that much or anyone. And so she's kind of learning to get along with people and to kind of expend her energy in a way that makes her life more enriched and joyful. And so this was an absolute fabulous book. And if you want to know my overall rating for this book, you're gonna have to watch my vlog where I read an entire week of middle grade books. So stay tuned. The next book that I read for the month of August is Amulet. Amulet is by Kazu Kibuishi? I don't really know, but is book 1 of The Stone Keeper. This follows a girl who has lost her father, and she's going through a really difficult time because her mother moves her to a new town, and they move into a mysterious family home that has been passed down from the generations. The family home holds a lot of mystery, and there's a lot of things in the home that are spooky and kind of creepy. So this is almost a bit of spooky vibes. But as the main character, and I forget what her name is. Oh gosh, I think it's Emily. Yes, Emily. As Emily goes through, moving and adapting and readjusting to a new place, she begins to unravel these mysteries around the home itself, and she begins to find things that are unexpected and villains that are lurking in the shadows of this ancestral home. And when her mother investigates a noise in the middle of the night, her mother disappears, and she disappears into an entire world that lies beyond one of the walls in this home. And this book just takes you on an incredible adventure, and it also just takes you on such an imaginary exercise, like of your imagination, like you're on the edge of your seat. So she finds an amulet that is in the home before the disappearance of her mom. And the amulet begins to speak to her and gives her directions as to what to do to retrieve her mother since her mother disappeared. And she goes into this land that was created by her grandfather, I believe. I think it was her grandfather or an uncle, I can't remember. But anyway, the entire world has so many different characters, and this is only book 1, and I believe there's 9 in the series. This book was epic. I absolutely loved it, and this is also going to be not rated on this video because I want to save that rating for a vlog that I am doing, which is a week of reading middle grade. But I will tell you that this is very high up on the list. It definitely got a good rating for me, and I am going to be continuing on in the series. Next book that I read, I don't actually have with me because I got it from Hoopla, but that is Good Inside, A Guide to Becoming the Parent That You Want to Be by Beckey Kennedy, Dr. Beckey Kennedy. This book was so good because I went through a season where I was struggling with how I was responding to certain behaviors of my children. And I felt like it was really good to just have a refresher on different approaches to discipline and different approaches to everyday problems that we might, have with our children. And so if you were a mom and you were looking for a book that is going to give you very expert advice and just very good advice that even when you make mistakes and you mess up and you have a moment of weakness where you yell at your kids or you're frustrated or you do something and you respond in a way that is not the true you, you're still good inside. And so it's an affirming book for parents, a mantra, a daily thing to tell yourself, even though I might make mistakes, I am still good inside. And even though my children may do things that are horrible and kind of mean sometimes, they are still good inside. And we have to nurture the good inside of each and every one of us. I gave this book a 3-star. The only reason I gave it a 3-star is because I do believe that it could have given more practical advice to how to deal with problems, because I felt like it was a lot of reasoning with the child, which doesn't always work perfectly, but I love different approaches to discipline that are not, very harsh. I'm not a gentle parent. I do definitely give my kids strict boundaries and discipline, but I would say that I definitely am not one of those moms that just rushes to anger. I try very hard to monitor myself to where I don't get to that point. So this was a great book that if you're someone you've been struggling with that, this book could get you realigned and back on track. So definitely check it out. My phone is dying. I have to do this kind of quickly, but the next book I really could just gab about forever. And this is The Edge of the In-Between. This book was gifted to me for my birthday from my bestie, Megan. This book changed my heart, my perspective, my view on my own grief. It's kind of public knowledge, I think, even now on my channel, that I lost my dad in October 2023. And this year has been very difficult for me. This book healed a part of my heart. The quotes in this book, the language in this book, the themes in this book, unmatched. It's basically a retelling of The Secret Garden, and everybody knows that classic. But the retelling is that she is living in the land Revel, which is full of color and excitement and beauty. And unlike The Secret Garden, when she loses her parents, her and her parents have a great relationship. In The Secret Garden, the original book, the parents are kind of neglectful. And in this book, the parents are very involved and the loss is deep felt. She loses her parents in a tragic accident which leaves her as an orphan. The only people who can claim her are people that are, distant relatives, and she doesn't think she has any. She was a vibrant girl because there are two people groups. There are people who are colorful people, and there are people who turn into living gray. The people that have color in them are people that still kept their magic and their hope throughout the trials and hardships of life. And the living gray are those who let those hardships and trials consume them. So it's very symbolic of someone who is resilient towards pain and somebody who absorbs it and takes it in as part of their personality henceforth. And so she finds that despite her best effort, she is drained of all color. She is turned into living gray when she finds out that her parents died. And so then she is sought after by an uncle she didn't even know existed. And the uncle is living in the Vale, which is called the In-Between, and it is between the afterlife and the living. The land of the living and the afterlife, the Vale is in between, the edge of in-between. It's on the very edge of the in-between, and that's where all of the souls that have been taken from the land of the living are then transported into the Vale, the land of in-between, to then start a journey towards ever after, towards heaven, which is kind of a purgatory. The Vale, I guess, would be like purgatory, but the souls that are not going straight to ever after or holding on to something in the past, whether it be bitter feelings or love or hope, or like just like the idea that they're going to find their lost loved ones again. So everyone in the Vale is on a journey. Now, when you go to the Vale, you cannot return to the land of the living. At least this is what she is told. So this young girl, she goes to the Vale to live with her uncle, who is estranged. And while she's living in the Vale, she searches for the ghosts of her lost parents. That's like her dream, to find them. Through a series of events, she finds that the dream of her parents' ghost and searching for it has consumed her so much that she has become numb inside and broken, and that she does end up finding someone who is a ghost, ends up finding her. And that person actually finds their parents who are still alive. And she realizes that keeping a soul here from like the pull of us wanting them to stay in the in-between, the pull of us wanting to find them, it keeps the searching souls in the purgatory in the in-between. And she realizes that not only does it not keep them from going to ever after, but it keeps her stuck in a perpetual cycle of grief. And so the book is about her overcoming the need to find her parents' ghosts and to accept and move on so she can become someone who finds her magic and color again. I'm gonna cry just talking about it. It was absolutely phenomenal. The next book that I want to talk to you about is Belladonna by Adayln Grace. And this was a gothic fantasy like no other I have ever read before. I have since found that I am a gothic fantasy girly. This follows a character who basically falls in love with death, and the process of it though is kind of long and drawn out. So basically what happens is death comes to her when she's young, but death is not able to take her soul. So she begins to find that he follows her throughout her life, and he appears in every different season of her life. And she is orphaned when she is young, and she goes through all these different people who take guardianship of her, but death is always keeping his eye on her because he wants to keep her safe. And the different guardians that she has are all trying to extort her and try to keep her only for her family's fortune. Well, death ends up kind of seamlessly setting up the situation where she lives with the family that she doesn't know that she's distantly related to, and it's actually like her cousin. And so she ends up moving into this beautiful manor that is full of mystery and loss, and the family members who are going through the loss of a recent mother and wife. And when she arrives, so many different things take place. She begins to see the ghost of the mother who passed away. She begins to find that there are so many different secrets that the family holds. And she finds that death is not quite as foreboding and ominous as he once seemed. And he begins to almost help her towards finding her purpose. And so she begins to kind of unravel her destiny and her purpose and develop feelings for someone who she should never have developed feelings for. The book is absolutely astounding. 4 stars, and I absolutely loved it. The next book I read was by Olivia Atwater. This is Half a Soul, and this follows a character who basically, from the time she is young, she feels like something is off about her, and she's in the woods one day and she meets this elf lord, and he basically describes to her that she has been caught up in this horrible scheme to where her mother has given him permission to take her soul as payment for something from a long time ago. And so she finds out this elf lord is trying to take her soul. And so in the process of him trying to take her soul, she is amazingly saved by her cousin, and the iron in the scissors that her cousin uses, and this is in the first chapter, so it's not a huge spoiler, is iron actually fights off this certain magic that the elf has. And iron is meant to even like ward off bad spirits. So if you think of like, I think it's Akatar, iron is also meant to keep away different fae. And so iron is like something that she has for protection. So she wears a pair of iron threading scissors on her neck at all times because this guy tried to attack her, and if he ever comes back, she wants to defend herself. The elf lord took only half the payment. He didn't take her whole soul because her cousin intervened. So she has been going through life with half a soul, which means that her emotions are dulled, her feelings are dulled, and she doesn't really believe that she's capable of finding love. Well, her cousin and her go to the Ton for the mating season where everyone's trying to find a husband, and she goes on, the journey with them to London, and she begins to meet all of these incredible characters. But she meets a man named Lord Sorcier, is the king's magician who wards off evil spirits. And so she begins to kind of fall for him. And he is like grumpy sunshine all the way. It's Regency fantasy, kind of like forbidden love in a way, but it is such an incredible story. And it's kind of like Bridgerton meets Throne of Glass, because the heroine in that is so strong-minded and so independent. Those were the vibes I got. So gave it a 4-star. Definitely check it out. It was worth the time. Absolutely. The last book I read, which wraps up my August, is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldtree. I love this story. It's definitely unique and one of a kind. It follows, I believe she's called an org, or I forget the name of it, but she's a type of mythical, creature. Or an ogre, I forget. Anyway, it follows her. Her name is Viv. She is a huge war hero or warlord. She has performed many tasks where she kills people. What's like a warrior? She's like a warrior, a bounty hunter, assassin, just a killer. She's a crazy killer. And she's with a band of vagrants who are all killers. And she decides that she wants to kind of get away from that life. So she decides to move to a new place she's never been before. But before she does that, she takes a jewel that was won in battle over a queen. And she takes the jewel to this new place. And the jewel is supposed to bring you your heart's greatest desire. And so she decides that she is going to open a coffee shop, something that has never been done before in this fantasy realm. And so she opens up this coffee shop. She plants the jewel under the flagstone of the establishment, and she is believing that it will bring her good luck. She meets so many different characters in the creation of this beautiful coffee shop, including a succubus who becomes her partner in crime. And as things go along, she finds that people are after the stone that she stole. And so people are sniffing around, weird people are coming and kind of wondering how her business is so successful. Well, as greed usually does, greed prevails and something happens and havoc is wreaked on her life, and different occurrences happen to where her shop has gone up in flames and she has to rebuild from the ground up. And she's wondering, she's kind of going between, should I go back to the life that I tried to run away from and embrace it, or should I stay the course and pursue this life that gives me joy? And it's a very conflicting, finding myself type of book where someone is trying to not go back to their baser instincts, but move on to something new and start a fresh new life. And so this book had an atmosphere of its very own, very unique, very fantasy, but also lots of yummy treats and coffees described. So it was yummy, yummy, delicious. I gave this a 3-star. There is some content in it that I don't agree with. Fair. But I did still like it because it just gave me all the cozy autumny vibes, and I really enjoyed it. That is my wrap up for August. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you like and subscribe and follow me for more videos. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.